Hey, so a lot of people do not actually realize the fact that all of the slavery, the bondage, the colonization happened not because of countries, but because of companies. And these companies were first of all formed to create the stock exchange. The stock exchange is created in actual is actually created in 1602, and this is the Dutch East Indian Company, which took over places like India. Right, that's how it's actually made, and it took over certain other countries. This happened in 1602. So to make the calculation is to calculate 400 years of slavery. So regardless of if a person is in Africa or in America, the fact is even America is colonized by English companies like the London Company, the Massachusetts Company, the French companies. All of those companies actually are the colonists that came and massacred the people there. So they did this in the name of their country, and at some point, the countries themselves wanted to get the money from these areas. When you look into Southern Africa, like my country, for example, was colonized by Britain, but literally it was not colonized by Britain. It was colonized by a British South African company, the BSAC. And this company came in the 1800s, and it came with a person like Cecil John Rose, who gave certain countries his name, and a certain country's name, my country's name. Rhodesia. So this is not actually the country, but at some point the company was bankrupt because Britain saw that they were making a lot of money. So they ended up taking over. But who actually colonized were the companies. So this happened 400 years ago. So to get this is to grasp the fact that most people in this world are still enslaved by these corporations. This is why we still have to work. America or Djibouti, all of these are actually incorporated entities. A country has a legal status, which means that it is a legal person. A legal person means that it has a certain statehood that it has to adhere to according to the legal documents. So when we got independent, every country when that was ever colonized, when it got independent, what it actually got was not sovereignty, which is what we actually need, but it's legal independence. So legal independence just means that the company can now operate on its own independence, but the company is still registered and formulated by the principles of those companies that first of all incorporated it. So we're still incorporated, and this is the thing that's all over the world. So the thing about this understanding is that through this we have colonization happening in certain areas because of a doctrine in religion that came to certain people and places. Even in America, like when they went there, they're actually doing it in the name of their religion. Like they're doing this for God to civilize the world, and we actually know that when they were doing all of this, gaining independence in the 1700s, they were doing all of this in terms of their goal as Freemasons. And the same thing is happening even in Southern Africa, that the person who I was referring to, Cecil John Rose, is a Freemason. And he's like, yeah, Freemason. So all of these companies are actually based on this understanding. So this is what is trapping people's minds. So today what we have is the religious aspect that is still affecting people's understanding, and that is trapping us because the people have to understand the knowledge that will make them free, the truth that will make them free. So when they don't know, they die and they perish because they're trapped. So all of the companies that created this new world are still there, and they're still incorporating all of the other countries. This is why like a country can be like sanctioned or something like that, or actually not, but everything is happening because of these corporations. So even now these countries are still corporations. So this is happening because of a certain group of people who call themselves illuminated, luminous light. This is speaking about their understanding of how they are enlightened and how they shed light to everyone in the world. And this is linked to the light bearer, who is the Lucifer and the luminous. So this is how they actually get their understanding. So the information that is being used against us is the information of the fallen angels. This is in Genesis chapter 6, that the sons of God were in the earth in those days and the days after. So this is still happening as it was in the past, because what has been is what will be. So to know what happened in Egypt in the Exodus is to know what's happening now in this Exodus, because we are exiting this stage, this age, and the key is to know that they also know that. The main tool for their power is ignorance, because my people perish from ignorance. So you having knowledge is you having light. So this light is how God is the Father of lights. So to have the Father of lights is to have knowledge of the sons of God. So all of them, even Lucifer is the son of God. This is what Job tells us. So to have this knowledge is to know that there is good and there is evil. And this is how God says that I create light and I create darkness. So our darkness, our present darkness in this age has been a delusion, an illusion. This is luminous, an illusion, elusive, that has been illuminating this whole world. This is the illusion that we have. And this illusion is being caused by companies, because the root of all evil is what? Cheddar, money. So in 1602, we have this Dutch company that's being formed, and through this we have stocks and bonds that are being traded, and these bonds are actually slaves in bondage. So now, just the thing to realize that we all still need money. So the whole aspect of money is a different concept on its own that needs a different video, but this is actually the basis of bonds. Like when they say Wall Street, right? They just say it was a place with a wall, and black people who are in bondage, were traded. And this is how Wall Street happened. This is how America is built. Wall Street is the financial center of America. So when you go into the details, you realize that Wall Street is actually built by these black people. Wall Street was actually once run by other black people. There was actually Black Wall Street at some point, which was successful and things like that. But all of the labor, all of the engineering, the minds actually that created these systems are actually are actually African. When you look into the details, like the actual history, the truth, as I should say, because history is his story, but the actual truth about the past, you actually find out that the people who were inventing things, designing cities, were black people. And this is actually in this in a show by a person in Fox News. So yeah, you can find the reference there, and so many other references. So if you really want to find this information, it's out there. So this is to know, like, ignorance and darkness. So this light that is being fought over came through this these people who supposedly are illuminated, right? Supposedly have this light and this knowledge. So this light and this knowledge was brought to a place that they call the dark continent, so that they could shed light in the dark continent. So when they came with this light that they wanted to shed, they created a false doctrine, a Luciferian doctrine, that kept people in bondage in the mind. So this is how they got slaves in the first place. After they got slaves, this is how they colonized in the last place. Like, colonization happened so recently. Still happening now, actually. France still receives money from its territories in West Africa. This is a fact. So this is still happening. Look at the Commonwealth, like whatever that means. The Commonwealth realms, all of these African countries are still under the crown. So they're still colonized. So this is how, it's just legal independence, legal jargon. This is Babylon, babbling, legal. So this legal or Babylon independence is not real. What we need is sovereignty, which is to reconcile the truth, to actually say the truth. Like, if they can actually go on news and actually say the stuff that is actually true, some of the stuff that we say that we know happened in the real truth and not his story, not his fake story, right? So, so when all of this was happening, they came with this light. This light is the illumination. So they came with this light, right? And after they did this, they told people in Africa that they were meant to be slaves, which is the understanding of Ham and Cain and Canaan. So Canaan is his son. Canaan is the son of Ham. Ham sees his father's nakedness, and then he is cursed because he saw the father's nakedness. And we are actually in the story. We're actually not told whether or not he's black, white, blue, green, maroon, purple, or yellow, but we are to understand that he was black, and we are to understand that the black people are subjugated to slavery because of Ham, because Ham saw this father's nakedness. So understanding the story of Ham is to also go into the story of Noah. To understand the story of Noah, his father, is to understand Noah is the first man who came to the earth to populate it, just like how Adam is the first man who came to the earth to populate it after there was a huge water. So in the beginning there was just this water, the Spirit of God hovered over the water. But in the second beginning, Noah is the actual Spirit of God that's hovering over the water in his hovercraft, in his ark. So this is to understand what's happening. This is a parallel scripture that is speaking about the first thing that happened in the second way. So this is how, like, Ham is cursed. Ham is the man, am. Ham is Adam, am. They all have this suffix, like Adam and Ham. I am that I am. So Ham is Adam. Adam is Ham. So both of them have a child. Ham has a child called Cain. Ham has a child called Canaan. So the curse of Cain is the same curse of Canaan, and this is the same thing. So Cain, like, regardless of his skin, this is to understand what happened in the garden, that this is the forbidden fruit and all of these things that came through the light bearer. So to understand this is to get to the depth of the truth in this reality, to know that what happened to Adam happened to Noah, or happened to Ham, and Ham is signifying the original man. So this is how you understand the parable of the sower, that when you read the story, what you're looking for is the most fertile ground. Because some of the seeds fell on rocky ground, some of the seeds fell on the pavement, and some of the seeds fell on the thorns, but some of them fell on the actual fertile soil. So Ham represents the fertile soil, because everyone in the earth comes from a black person. So this is how everyone is fertilized. So this is to know that this is a parable speaking in parallel about what happened in paradise. So this is a different paradigm of it. So when we look at the curse of Cain, this Cain, Adam's son, Cain who killed Abel. Cain is who creates the Canaanites. And when we look at Ham, his son, called Canaan, Canaan creates the Canaanites. So what's happening in this understanding is the seeds of Canaan, the seeds of Canaanites. These Canaanite seeds are going against the seeds of Israelite. This is the seeds of Israel. This is Seth. This is actually how we get to Adam. So the Cain came first, and then we don't even hear about his seeds. But when he killed Abel, God gave Eve another child called Seth. So Seth is the one who was set or sent or appointed. And through Seth, this is where we get Ham. So through this understanding, this is where we get the new rebirth of life and how we have this present world. So from the Seth seed, this is where we get even like the whole lineage up until Jesus. So Jesus is actually a son of Seth or son of Noah, in the same understanding that everyone is coming from the same lineage. Because these people are the same, they have the same seed, the same plant, the same family tree. So going forward, we see that we have Israel, which is Israel, which is Israel, which is his real light. This is an Israelite. So Israel is representing light. So the light is showing us that it was created in the darkness, because when Jacob, who is the first Israelite, gets his name and is called Israel, he fights an angel in the dark in a place called pineal, which represents the pineal gland. And when he fights this angel in the dark, this is the serpent rising. This is how Moses is raising a serpent. This is how Jesus is saying, like, I have to be raised like the serpent in the wilderness. This is the Israelite. So this happened in the dark, and this is a struggle to get this to raise up to the pineal. And through this, we have Israel lights. So these are the lights. So Israel is the electricity or the light. So these are the lights. And the Israelites have his real light. This is the real light of God. And this is the understanding that you get in your mind. Because this is how, when your one eye is bright, or when your one eye is dark. So through this we have the Israel and the Israelite. So this light is actually fighting against the same seed from the beginning, because it's Seth and it's Cain. So the Seth seed is the Israelite seed, and this is fighting against the Canaanite seed. Canaan, or Canaanite, is the night, which is the darkness. So this light is constantly fighting the darkness. This is Canaan, and this is the Canaanite. And these Canaanites are the nights. This is the darkness, the night, right? This is where the darkness happens. And through this we have the light. This is Israelite. So what is happening is, through this understanding, we have Ham, H-A-M, Ham, right? And then we have Adam, and then we also have Abraham. And all of these people have the same suffix. So in the beginning was the Word. And these words are speaking about these fathers. Like Ham is a father, Adam is a father, Abraham is a father. Abraham actually has the word Ham in him. So this is the word in it, and Ham is in Abraham. This is why it was so important for God to add all of these letters, to change all of these names, to change like these little letters in these names, to create a whole different paradigm in the person's mind. This is why it's happening. And this is how you see Jesus is speaking about every dot and every iota. So this is how we have Ham in Abraham. This is how we have Adam. And these are the fathers. And this creates the Israelites. So this is actually from Ham. Ham is creating the Israelites, because he's creating the light through the darkness of this nakedness. So to uncover the nakedness is looking at the native, the natal, the nature. To uncover the nakedness is to actually see the nature of his father. This is what happened when Adam, the first father, discovered his nakedness by knowing the nature of God, because he is created in the image and likeness of God. So that's how he covered his nakedness after he discovered it. And the same thing is happening to Adam. The same thing is happening to Ham, that he discovered his father's nakedness, and then his brothers covered it. So this is speaking about a parallel. This is to know the parables, and this is to know this is how Jesus is referring to the days of Noah as being the last days, as being these days when we actually know that we are leaving. This is to leave, the exodus, to exit this paradigm, which is trapping people's minds, especially these black people, but especially everyone who is incorporated, who is being oppressed by this system, like whether you're in London or in Egypt. This is the same thing that's happening, because these are the people who are illuminating everything, or enlightening people about this Luciferian light. This is not the real light, but this is the Canaanite light. So this is the lamp of the night. This is the moon. This is the moon's first name in the Semitic languages was Sin. So this is about the sin. So this is creating sin in the world. So what we want is the light of day, which is how we get Jesus, who is the Son of the light, the Son of God who came to save the world. So when we look at this light and what's happening in this world, we see that the chosen people of God have always been targeted to be the ones who are oppressed by the ones who believe that they should be God. So they are not God, so they want to be God. So they want to oppress the gods. This is what it's saying in Ezekiel, that the covering cherub wants to exalt himself as God because he's not God. So it means that there is a God made in his image and likeness. So this light, this knowledge, this understanding, in any shape, form, or fashion is playing out in different arenas. And the most watched, noticed, and spoken and observed ground that's happening is in the Middle East, which is part of Africa. To understand the truth is to know that the Middle East is Africa, because the whole look at the African flag. Where does Africa stop? Or look at the American continent. Where does America stop? So we have North and South America because it's the same landmass. So why do we cut off Africa there? Why? So to understand the truth is to know this fundamental. So this is what's happening in the Middle East, that this is where Israel is. And at the same time, this is where we get Abraham and we get his son, which is actually Islam. So Islam is a lamp, is lamp. So this is actually a light. And Islam, the lamp in the sky, is called the moon. So this is why the crescent is on the thing of Islam, on the flag of Islam. So it's actually the moon, and this is reflecting the sun, because the sun is a reflection of, the moon is a reflection of the sun. So in a way, it is created in the image and likeness of the sun. So it's created in the image and likeness of Abraham, because this is talking about Ham, Adam, Abraham, Ham, these fathers, these sons. So what's happening is, through all of this, the war in Islam is about this light. So regardless, all of these people who are of Islam are sons of Abraham. So we are supposed to know this and not be illuminated into thinking that they are evil, to the extent that people in this world just believe that everything Islamic is evil. This is not true, because if you understand the word in the understanding that it is put forth, it is to know that Jews who don't believe in Jesus are still the inheritors of heaven, although Jesus paradoxically says that no one goes to the Father except through me. But they are like, nah, we don't go through you, Jesus. And the same thing is happening with the sons of Abraham, who are the Islamites. So this is also a light. This is a lamp. This is a lamb. So this is how they have this lamb. This is a lamb. So they're actually a flock. So this is a lamp, this is a lamb, and this is the lamp in the sky. So this is just what's being illuminated by these people who want the sons of Abraham to be divided. This is to understand what's happening in the enslavement of Ham, which is the enslavement of Abraham. This is the enslavement of the Israelites. This is Israelites, because Ham is Abraham, and the son of Abraham is the light. So this Abraham is the breath, Abraham. This is how he breathes, Abraham. But this is creating the light, the breath, and this is what's being trapped by this system. So understand that freedom is at hand when you understand that all of these are speaking about the same thing in different ways. Adam, Abraham, Noah, Ham, all of these are the same. Islam is his lamp, and Israelite is his real light. So this is still the light, and these lamps are coming from this light. So this is the light on top of the hill. Like, don't light your lamp and put it under your bed. This is why the Muslims actually read the Bible as well. So to know the truth is to be set free. So be free and go your way in sovereignty, peace, and truth.